the name of the chapter is Three at Table by Vii Std. So before that, children, I would like to ask you some question. Okay, you all have your meals, isn't it? With whom will you have? Will you sit alone and have, or you will have with family members? Yes, we all like to have it with our family members, isn't it? So this lesson is also related to that incident. So now let's see about the lesson. So as I told you, it is Three at Table by William Emma Jacobs. So first let's see about the author. So the author was born on 8 September 1863 and he is an English author and he is well known for short stories and novels. And his first story was published in the year 1885 and his favorite subject is marine life. So what do you mean by marine life? Something related to aquatic plants and animals. And occasionally he writes horror stories and the famous one is The Monkey's Paw. So here in this story Three at Table, the author is discussing about the sailor. So here the sailors usually describe about the voyages, about what are the things they are going through in their life. So in this story, the sailor goes for a walk in the English countryside. Okay, and the story begins like this. The talk in the coffee room was about ghosts. And now we are going to get deep into the lesson, children.
So dear children, he is William Vii Jacobs who has written the story Three at Table. So children, now we are going to discuss about the central idea of the story and then we'll start reading the lesson. Okay. So you all know this is a story about the sailor, isn't it? And here they were all about the conversation on ghost. They were all discussing about ghost. And here the men had the impression that the sailors are much prone to have dreams, visions, and so the sailors started describing the only unpleasant incident in their life. So here he is going to start the incident what happened in his uncle's house, and the family has gone to the south of France and they were to return in a couple of days. And so the narrator decided to pass the time somehow until they are back. So he looked a room in a decent inn and started exploring the place. Exploring means what, children? To find out about the place, that is inn, the restaurant which he is going there. And he had a good lunch and walked around, and by evening when the night started to draw, he lost his way and he walked so long and shouted around to find whether there is someone to help him. Finally, he found a man, and the little narrator inquired him about the route and the distance to Asheville. The man guided him but warned the narrator about the only house that can be seen from there. So he said that there is something in there and not very common and pleasant, and he did not know either as to what that was. So they all were in confusion what to do, whether we can go to that house, haunted house, or not. So children, later the narrator had no choice but to knock on that door to inquire about the route. And there he met a wife and a husband, and he could not escape the scene of dining with them. And they seemed quite creepy, and their words seemed even more creepy. And they wanted to dine in the dark. And then the third man joined them in the dining table. At first, the narrator and the man had good terms, but when the narrator happened to see the man through the light of the fire, he got terrified, and the man's face was like a wolf-like figure. Then the old man explained to the narrator about the incident that took place to his son and how from then he took up their retirement. And the man regretted that he came to dine with them, and it was his father's idea to dine in the dark because he wanted his son to dine with them on his birthday. So it was a special day for his son. And here the narrator is a kind-hearted man, and it was okay for him to be in the light and dine with the birthday boy. So he sorted out things to give him a proper and a memorable birthday. So the day was fantastic for the narrator as well as the old man, women, and the birthday boy. So this is about the central idea of the story, Three at Table. So now children, take page number 23 in your textbook. Now we shall start reading. Okay. So the name of the story is Three at Table by William Vii Jacobs. So the talk in the coffee room was about ghost. So I wouldn't advise you to believe all those, said a clean-shaven man who had been listening without speaking much. You see, when a sailor gets ashore, he is expected to have something good to tell, and his friends would be rather disappointed if he had not. What do you mean by get ashore? It is returning after a sea journey, okay, children? And all sailors are very prone to see visions. So, here, prone to see visions means what? They are likely to see things in their dreams or imagination. Interrupted, disturbed another man firmly. Firmly means strongly. I've been at sea 30 years, and the only unpleasant incident of that kind occurred in a quiet English countryside. What do you mean by countryside? Countryside means a rural area, okay? Said the clean shaven man. I was a young man at the time he began. I had just come back from China and my family was away, so I invited myself to stay with an uncle. When I reached the place, I found it closed, so I decided to put up at the Royal George, a very decent inn. So, what is the name of the inn? Royal George. So, children, you can underline the main key points in this story, okay? So, the next morning, after a late breakfast, I started for a brisk day's walk, and the day was bright and frosty. I lunched luxuriously. Lunch means what? Eating, full stomach you're eating. Ate a good hearty lunch. Okay, on bread and cheese in a small inn, and decided to go a little further before turning back. And when I found I had gone far enough, I turned up at a lane at right angles to the road, and I was passing to find my way back by another route. But this had several turnings of its own, and I was soon caught up in a fog and wandered about miserably, and occasionally shouting on the chance of being heard by some passing shepherd. Luckily, I heard footsteps approaching me. So he's hearing some sound, okay? And a sturdy looking gentleman, hearing me shout, walked back with me for nearly a mile and gave me instructions how to reach the place. What do you mean by sturdy looking? Sturdy means very strong, okay? And physically. So the 3 miles sounded like 10. A little way off from the road, I pointed to a dimly lit window, but my companion shuddered and looked round him uneasily. Companion means what's a little friend, okay? And it's no good there, he said hastily. Why not? I asked. So he's asking, why are you saying like this, man? Why can't I go there? So there's something there, sir, he replied. Some say it is a poor mad thing, others say it's a kind of an animal, but whatever it is, it ain't good to see. Well then, I said good night. I followed the road that the man had indicated until it again split into 3. So he's following the way which the companion showed. I was now cold and tired, so walked slowly back towards the house until I came to a small gate. And opening it cautiously, I walked up a long path which led to the door, and there was no light and no sound from within. I knocked lightly upon the door. I waited for a couple of minutes and then knocked again, and the door opened suddenly, and a tall, bony old woman holding a candle stood before me. You can see in the picture, isn't it, children? So, what do you want? She asked. She demanded gruffly. So, gruffly means what? Speaking in a rough voice, okay? I have lost my way, I said. I wanted to get to Asheville. Don't know it, said the old woman. She was about to close the door when a man emerged from a room at the side of the hall and came towards us. So while she was answering the narrator, what happened? An old man is coming behind the lady. So he saying, Asheville is 15 miles far, he said slowly. If you will direct me to the nearest village, I shall be grateful, sir, he remarked. The nearest place is 3 miles off, he said. If you will give me the pleasure of your good company, I will make you as comfortable as I can. I hesitated. They were certainly a queer-looking people, and the gloomy hall with the shadows thrown by the candle looked hardly more pleasant than the darkness outside. What do you mean by gloomy, children? Gloomy hall means here it is a dark and a poorly lit hall with a candlelight. Okay, and he is feeling that it looks more pleasant than the darkness outside. So, you're very kind, I murmured, but Come in, he said quickly. Shut the door. And so, like this, the conversation ends. So, almost before I knew it, I was standing inside. I followed my host into the room and, taking the chair, warmed my frozen fingers at the fire. Dinner will soon be ready, said the old man. I bowed and he left the room. A minute after, I heard his and the old women's voices, and I fancied a third. Before I had finished my inspection of the room, he returned and announced, "There will be three of us at dinner. We two and my son. I suppose you don't mind dining in the dark," he said abruptly. So he's giving an indication that there will be one more person joining with us in the dinner, and the person is his son. Okay, children. So not at all, I replied, hiding my surprise. But really, I'm afraid I am intruding. What do you mean by intruding? That is, I'm inviting myself without any permission. So, if you allow me, he is saying. He waved his huge hands, and it's seldom we have company. My son's eyes are bad and he can't stand the light. Ah, here is Anne. The old woman entered and began to lay the cloth, while my host, taking a chair the other side of the fireplace, sat looking silently into the fire. And the table set, the old woman placed the three chairs and left the room. The old man rose from his chair, placed a large screen in front of the fire, and slowly extinguished the candles. What do you mean by extinguish? Put out. Okay, the blind man's holiday, he said, and groping his way to the door, opened it. So, feeling his way with his hands, he just opened the door. Somebody came back into the room with him and took a seat at the table, and the strangest voice I have ever heard broke the silence. "A cold night," it said slowly. "Yes," I replied. It was somewhat difficult eating in the dark, and it was obvious from the behavior of my invisible companions that they were not used to dining under such circumstances as I was. So you come to know something, there was strange in this place. Okay, and we ate in silence until the old women came into the room with some sweets. "Are you a stranger here?" inquired the curious voice again. I replied in the affirmative and murmured something about being lucky in stumbling upon such a good dinner. There was something so strange about the whole business, and I could see a pair of wild eyes shining like a cat's eye. So the man's eye was like a cat's eye. Have you seen cat's eyes, children? Cat's eyes and dog's eyes during the night time, will you see it will be shining, isn't it? Yes. So with a growing sense of uneasiness, I pushed my chair back. It caught the rug, and in my efforts to disentangle it, okay, free it, the screen in front of the fire fell over with a crash. In the flickering light of the fire, I saw the face of the creature opposite. "Man or beast, which was it?" he murmured. So, in the mere glow of the fire, the face looked more devilish than before. "I beg your pardon," said I, "but I have accidentally overturned the screen. Allow me to replace it." "No," said the old man gently, "let it be. We have had enough of the dark. I'll give you a light." So he struck a match and slowly lit up the candle. So then I saw the man opposite had a gaunt. Gaunt means thin and bony, weird face with only one eye. "My son was injured some years ago in a burning house," said the old man. "Since then we have lived a very retired life, and when you came to the door, we," his voice trembled. Trembled means what, children? Shaking with fear. Okay. "And I thought," said the son, "that it would be better for me not to come to the dining table. But it happens to be my birthday, and my father would not hear of my dining alone. So we hit upon this foolish plan of dining in the dark. I am sorry I startled you." So he said in a very low voice. "I am sorry," said I, as I reached across the table and gripped his hand, "that I am such a fool, but it was only in the dark that you startled me." "We never see a friend," said the old man apologetically, and said the temptation to have company was too much for us. Besides, I don't know what else you could have done. We were soon as merry a party as I have ever seen. The night passed by rapidly, and we could hardly believe our ears when, during a lull in the conversation, That is a silence during a conversation. The clock in the hall struck 12. At last, toast before we retire, said my host. And the old man rose and gazed proudly at his disfigured son. To the health of the children, my boy saved, he said. So all enjoyed a party and all were happy at the end of the story. Okay, children, this is about the story 3 at table. Now let's discuss some objectives. So children, now page number 27, click the correct options. Okay, Roman letter A. When the narrator pointed at the house, the countryman shuddered because of what? Option A, it was a cold night. Option B, he thought he saw a ghost. Option C, he feared that they were lost. Option D, he was nervous and frightened. What is the correct option? Option D. Second one, the old man told the narrator that they would be dining in the dark because, what is the correct option? His son had bad eyes and could not see in the light. And his son had bad eyes and could not tolerate the light. His son was shy. The fire had exhausted and there was no candles. So what is the correct answer? Option B. His son had bad eyes and could not tolerate the light. Third question. The old man invited the narrator into the house because he and his family wanted company, wanted to provide shelter to the narrator, did not want his son to be alone on his birthday. So what is the correct answers then? Both A and B. Next one. The old man's son's face had become disfigured because of what? A, in a burning house. B, when he saved the children. C, because of an eye infection. D, both A and B are correct. So answer is option D, both A and B are correct. Now Roman letter B. Read the sentence and answer the questions. So first one. Dash was evident from the behavior of my invisible companions that they were not used to dining under such circumstances as I was. So who were the companions? So the companions were the old man and his son, isn't it? Second one. What circumstances did the speaker refer to and why was the speaker used to dining under such circumstances? These are the questions B and C. So what is the answer for B? So the narrator referred to the unusual circumstances of him and his companion eating in the dark. And why was the speaker used to dining under such situation? Because they were accustomed to eating in the dark, because he was a sailor on a ship. Second one, to the health of the children my boy saved. Who said these words? The old man said these words. Next, what did the boy save the children from? So the boy saved the children from a burning house. How did the incident affect the family? So ever since the son had been injured in the burning house, the family led a retired life and did not even see a friend. That's why they needed a companion. Okay, children. So answer the following questions I'll be giving in your assignment. So copy down in your classwork correctly without making any spelling mistakes. So children, now page number 28, Roman letter E, F and G. Okay. So Roman letter E, replace the word good in these sentences or phrases with other suitable words. Example they have given. Is this a good time to talk to you? Is this an appropriate time to talk to you? Okay, so the word good is changed into appropriate. So like this you have to change the words and other sentences. So he is expected to have something good to tell us. So you can write interesting. Okay, he is expected to have something interesting to tell us. Next, the pleasure of your good company. Here, enjoyable. You can use the word enjoyable. Pleasure of your enjoyable company. It's not good there, he said hastily. So here it is safe. Whatever it is, it ain't good to see. It is not pleasant to see. Being lucky is stumbling upon such a good dinner. Here good, you can refer it as delicious or tasty dinner. Okay, children. Then Roman letter F. So you have to circle the words that have been formed by adding the prefix and, in, or this. What do you mean by prefix? Adding before. Pre means before. Okay, so you have to circle the words there. Next one is punctuation. So insert commas in the correct places in the recent newspaper report. So this we have already done it. Okay, so you have to do it in your textbook now. Roman letter F, G, and the next Roman letter H and I also you will be doing it as your assignment and you have to send to me. Okay, children. So children, now we are going to discuss about the grammar topic, clauses. So what is a clause? A clause is a group of words that forms a part of a sentence and has a subject and a predicate of its own, and it can be independent or dependent clause as we discussed in the first lesson, isn't it? And now we are going to discuss about the types of dependent clause, that is noun clause, adjective clause and adverb clause. So what is a noun clause? It works as a noun and answers the questions such as who, what or whom. So what question does it answer, children? Who, what or whom. Example, the talk that went on in the coffee room was about ghost. What was it about? It answers the question what? It was about ghost. So this clause is the noun clause. Next one, adjective clause. So one adjective clause does the work of an adjective, and in most cases an adjective clause begins with a relative pronoun such as which, that, whom, whose or who. Example, I wouldn't advise you to believe all those, said clean shaven man. So here you can ask the question who, isn't it? Who had been listening without speaking much. So you are getting an answer to the question who here. So this clause is an adjective clause. Can you understand, children? Next one is adverb clause. So an adverb clause works as an adverb and answers the question why, where or when. Example, the next morning after a late breakfast, I set off for a brisk day's walk. Okay, where, when and why are the questions to be asked. So this type of clause is an adverb clause. So children, in your assignment have given a separate link for grammar. So kindly do watch it and you can finish the homework. Okay children. So children, complete your assignment given. Write your classwork neatly without making any spelling mistake. Your handwriting should be neat and draw lines after each Roman letter. Okay children, thank you and have a nice day.